nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all. It's your buddy Big John and G, the Two Gun Fix-It presents Legendary Gaming.
Sorry to disappoint you. Huh? You triggered my trap card!
The Princess Bride. What a fun movie and what a fun game. Now, first of all, let's start with the setup. And as you know, we're going to start with the storyboard book opened up to the current chapter that you're on. Let's say the first chapter, you're just starting. We're going to have that opened up at the center of the table. And you're going to take the replay counter, the square that has the grandson on one side, the grandfather on the other, and you're going to place that near the board, near the book, with the grandchild side up. You'll then take your several challenge tokens. They kind of look like wax seals, the red wax seals, and you're going to place them also near the board. You're going to need them later. Now, the story deck and the special cards all have the same back, and that's because the decks will get mixed together during the course of the game as you win story cards into your hand along with the special cards. So you're going to separate them, and you're going to notice that the story cards and that the special cards are marked different because the special cards have a small little icon down in the center bottom of them that looks like an open book with some stars, 3 stars coming out of it. So you're going to separate those decks, and you're going to place the story deck near the game board book on the top, let's say, while the special deck on the side of it. Now, the plot card deck with the darker backing is going to be shuffled, set up next to the board, but again, not on it. Each player is going to get a handy-dandy little reference card, which has a nice summation of the rules on it, just to get them ready for the game, while everything else just leave in the box nearby, handy, but everything else is really going to be determined by the specific chapters and what their needs are for setup. But otherwise, that's it. That's literally how fast the basic setup for the game is. Now, before we get into overview of the game, let me just take a quick look with you at the first chapter, because there are a couple other things you're going to want to know. The last page of the rulebook, page 7, is going to have the extra setups for each of the chapters. Now, to start the game off with, Chapter 1, As You Wish, you're just going to follow all the normal setups instructions that I just spoke about. Now, from the miniatures set, the black miniature, Wesley, the man in black, you're going to take that out, and Buttercup, who's the red miniature. They each have their own specific color, and you're going to take them out because they're going to be used in this first chapter. You're also going to take several of the chore counters, and you can place 3 of them, 1 each on the wood, the horse, and the well spaces. Now, the rest of them you're going to put off to the side of the book on the bottom left-hand side where the list of chores is, and you'll be grabbing and taking from that. You'll see that there's a star on the board, and you're going to place one of the miracle markers with a star on that star marker. And yeah, that's set up. The rule book shows you where to place them. Wesley at the barn, Buttercup at the farmhouse, and you're done. So just make sure that you look on the right-hand side, because that's where you're gonna find where the challenges are. So read the challenges so you know what you're gonna have to do before the whole chapter starts. And then now you are officially set up with the basic setup and set up for Chapter 1, As You Wish. So why don't we take a look at how the game actually plays? Now, moving on to the actual gameplay here. Yes, as I said in the setup, each player is going to have a handy-dandy little reference card, a cheat sheet with all the rules on it. And taking a look at that, you're going to notice that there are basically 5 phases to the turn. They're all quick and simple, well, except for the second part. Well, it is quick and simple, but there's multiple parts to the second phase of the turn. But why don't we just start at the beginning with movement? So the way it goes in this game is you're not playing a specific character. Like in this chapter, it's not like one player is playing Wesley and another player is playing Buttercup. No, on your turn, you can move whichever characters you want that are available on the given chapter that you're able to interact with, and you just do it that way. Nobody is in charge of a specific character. Now, the first part of the phase, movement, allows you to move any character that's viable, any character that you're allowed to move in the game. In this chapter, it's either of them. You can move either Wesley or Buttercup or both of them in chapter 1 if it's your turn. So movement means you can move one character 0 to 2 spaces. Or the other option is you can move 2 characters 1 space each. That's it. Very simple. Now, if you feel like you need more movement, hold on a second. That's actually coming up in phase 2, which we're getting into right now. And that's the storytelling phase of the game. This has several different actions that you can take and you can do in any specific order. So why don't we take a look at what your options are? Talking about movement, as an option in the storytelling phase, you can opt to discard a card. And every card that you discard from your hand, you're able to move any of the viable movable figures 1 space for each card. So there is a way to get more movement if you really need to. But be careful, because you need to hold on to your cards to achieve goals. We'll get into that real soon, coming up. So right here, completing challenges. This is another action that you can decide to do on your turn. And looking at the actions for each chapter, which are on the right-hand side of the book, it will tell you what you need to do. It usually involves being in a specific place with a specific character or characters, and then sacrificing certain cards from your hand that match certain icons. So if we take a look at As You Wish, the very first challenge of the same name, As You Wish, requires that, first of all, there must be 2 or fewer chores left on the board at the time. So the game starts with 3 active chores. So at least one of them is going to have to be dealt with before you can complete this challenge. The other aspect of this challenge is that both Buttercup and Wesley are going to have to be at the same space. So if they're at the same space and there are 2 or less chores to be done, then all you have to do is sacrifice a card that represents love. And those are the cards that have the heart symbol in the corners, in the top right, the top left corner or the bottom right corner. There are several symbols: courage, which is symbolized by a rodent of unusual size; revenge, which has a sword hilt on it; adventure, which is a boat; and intrigue, which is a mask. So there are different tasks in the different chapters and different challenges that you will need to have different things accomplished, different players in different spots, and then sacrifice certain cards from your hand. And then you'll be able to take a challenge completed, the red wax looking seals, and place it over that challenge to show that that challenge has been accomplished. Now, if you have any special cards in your hand, the storytelling phase is when you can play them. Now, you don't start the game with any special cards in your hand for the first game, playing Chapter 1. But as you progress the chapters, you will be getting, usually as a reward for completing challenges, you will get to draw these special cards into your hand. And from chapter to chapter, you will keep them in your deck. So even if you pause the game after 2 or 3 chapters and you go to finish the next day, you're still going to have all those special cards that you've accumulated thus far in this quest, in this adventure. You also may trade a single card with another player. So if you have multiple players at the table, maybe one of them is ready to accomplish something, but is short a revenge, and you have it. Well, during the storyteller action option, you can hand that off. Another action you can have is you can use a miracle. If you've accomplished getting to one of the spots that has the miracle star on it, then you get that miracle. You don't have to use it right away. You can hold it. You can hold it between chapters. You can accumulate more of them from chapter to chapter and hold on to them if you want. I haven't been that lucky. I've pretty much used them the minute I get them. Now, what happens when you get one of the miracles and you decide to use it is that it's going to allow you to draw 3 cards from the story deck to add to your hand. And that's more cards that you can use for extra movement. That's more cards that you can use to complete challenges. It's very useful. Like I said, I've sacrificed it the moment I've gotten it in every game just to get those extra cards. Now, those are all the options you have for the storytelling action phase of the game. The next part of the turn, literally you get to draw 2 cards from the story deck. That's it. Draw 2 cards into your hand. Now, after you've done that, you have to draw from the plot deck. Now, the plot deck is going to serve different purposes to a different degree in each and every chapter. So again, for our example here on chapter 1, if you look on the left-hand side of the book, of the game book, it'll have some chapter rules on it, and it's going to have the plot table. So here you see that with the plot table, if you draw a card between the numbers of 1 and 15, it's going to mean farm boy, as Buttercup would say to Wesley back on the farm. And it means that you have to place a chore, one of the counters, on the board. You have another chore to do. And where are you going to place it? That depends on the number that you drew. That's where it's going to go. But like I said, that's only 1 to 15. If you draw a 16 to 20 in chapter 1, fetch me that picture. And what this means is you're going to move Buttercup to Wesley's space and then draw and resolve another plot card. So it is potentially going to end up stacking up on you. But keep an eye on the right and left hand side of each new page board that you go to, because the information on the challenges, the chapter rules, and the plot tables are going to be highly important, and they're going to change from chapter to chapter. Now, finally, after all that is done, you are going to discard cards from your hand if you have more than 6. And you will discard down until you have 6 cards in your hand. And then that's it. The turn is over, and it starts again, either to the next player, or if you're playing solo, it just starts all over again. It starts with move, storytelling, draw, plot, discard, repeat. Now let's talk about interruptions and that replay card that you set up at the beginning of the game. So now certain things may cause a replay depending on the chapter. But overall, specifically speaking, if there are no cards left in the plot deck, then that's going to trigger the kid getting bored. It's just like the book and the movie, the kid gets bored at certain times of the story. And when that happens, or anything else happens that tells you that you have to hit that replay, you're going to pull everything from the board, you're going to reset from start, and you're going to start that chapter from scratch. If it happens a second time, you've lost that chapter. So be really careful. And like I said, different chapters are going to have some slightly different rules on how and when the replay is going to have to be resolved. Like in the chapter with the Cliffs of Insanity, if Prince Humperdinck makes it to the same spot as Wesley or Buttercup, get that replay, you gotta start it over. So each chapter will be a little bit different. Make sure you look at them each independently. And that is really how easy it is to have fun with the Princess Bride Adventure board game.